actually says it's live. Hi, everybody. Failed on some destinations. Okay,
It
wait,
says
hold on.
streaming started over here.
Yeah, let's try it again here. Okay. Yeah, I think it's type. All right, we're just going to go with it
Yeah.
wherever it started. It's on
Okay.
Facebook. Hi, Facebook. It's a constant learning, isn't it? It's just a
Yep.
constant learning.
And Rita, you're spectacular, so don't worry about it.
Oh, thank you. So, hi, everyone. This is Rita Desnoyers-Garcia coming to you from my office in New Jersey. And I really have wanted to talk to this particular person for a long time. We talk to each other a lot, but I wanted to share him with you. His name is Mick Cohn. And is it Cohn or Cohn?
Cohn.
Cohn.
You got it right.
All right, I got it right the first time. I'm just going to read a bit about him to you so you have a little idea, and then we're going to have a conversation where I'm going to learn a lot more about what he does and how he helps so many people. So Nick Cohn is a lifelong learner and student. Yes, me too. And he discovered coaching in his first self-improvement course, and it forever altered the arc of his life. Ooh, we're going to have to hear about that. It has altered his life professionally and as an entrepreneur for nearly 40 years. And in his personal life, he's been married 34 years. Wow. To his love and partner, Kate. Together, they have created an extraordinary life, many, many times taking the road less traveled. I love that. So how can he help you? He helps cut through the noise, clutter, and clatter that have become everyday modern life and everyday thinking. Yep. And his clients report dramatic improvements in results and performance, clarity of thought, confidence, peace of mind, and creativity and imagination. Please welcome my friend and hopefully yours soon, Mick Cohn. Welcome.
Hi, Rita. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure of mine. Thank you for coming and playing with me in this one stream place where sometimes things work and sometimes they don't.
Familiar with that.
Yeah. So tell me a little more about, you took this self-improvement course and it altered your life. Tell me a little about
So this is 30 plus years ago. This is actually just after I got married.
that. Okay.
And I went into it because I had a family that was making me crazy. I didn't like my family. I loved them, but I didn't like them. And I went in did the course, and it was called the Landmark Forum, and it's still around. It's a great course, and it was really weird because there was no rules. There was no do this, this, and this. There was a lot of questions,
Yeah.
and one of the cool things about it is you're sitting in a room and somebody across the room is talking to the forum leader and they're having a discussion or heated discussion, and the person that's standing up is resisting, and around the room you start to hear gasps or giggles or and you realize you the person in that, or the source of that gasp or giggle, sees yourself in that other person. And so throughout, that was a weekend of these insights, these like breakthroughs, these transformative moments where you saw something that was always right there in front of you, but you couldn't see it for what it was.
Yeah.
And in that moment, a lot changed. I'm getting chills just remembering it. And so when I came out of the course, what I found was I loved my family again. They didn't change. Nobody changed out there. And
Yeah.
actually, I always loved them. I actually started to like them. I accepted them. I stopped rejecting what I thought was wrong and recognized me as being mostly the source of it.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool thing. And it was, and it impacted my relationship with my wife. And when I had complaints about her, and one day I didn't. And when she came home and I hugged her, she says, "Who are you? What have you done with my husband?" And it was that kind of moment. And so these things started happening out of shifts in my own perception or the way I saw the world or I saw myself. And it was really cool. And from that point on, I always wanted to be a coach, and I've been a lifelong learner since, doing different courses, both with Landmark and outside of Landmark.
Wow. I love that. I have met a lot of people who've done Landmark. A lot of people. I've never done it myself, but I've done a lot of similar things, but not over the weekend or an intensive, but over a period of time.
Right.
So it's great that there's so many ways to do this stuff.
There's no right answer. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly. One size does not fit all.
Exactly.
So how did you get from Landmark to the 3 Ps, which is what you've been teaching about and talking about with me?
And learning. Well, it's been a journey. I mean, the 3 Ps I discovered really about 3-4 years ago. So that's about 30 years removed from that. Number of different courses, number of life experiences. One of the cool things out of Landmark was we created this idea. We actually created this. We had my wife and I hit this plateau in our marriage. We were kind of bored and we didn't know what we wanted to do next. We both had jobs. We had a house, a mortgage. And the question came up, well, and we had decided not to have children at that point. And we decided, so if we're not going to have children, why are we living like we do? And one of the things in coaching and in transformative work is the value of a question is always better or goes further, especially like a really good question is a lot more valuable than any answer you have, because it stirs things up. And what we created out of that was to create a beach house. And it wasn't something, I mean, Kate picked it and I said, okay, it sounds cool. Anyway, we did this whole process that we learned in the course, which was to look out forward, look into the future and say, okay, we're going to have this beach house in 5 years. So how do we get there? And, the 5-year buffer gave me some safety, like, okay, I won't be failing at this today or tomorrow. And long story short, the one thing it really did is it got me to continue to look forward at where I was going, as opposed to keep looking into the past and all my failures, all my wisdom, all my information, all my experience, which is not as useful, but also limiting and very much fraught with a lot of worry and concern, because we tend to, that's what we are designed to look for first, the danger. So in looking forward, I didn't have any of the anxiousness. It was a fun project too. Let's find a beach house. How upset could that be? Cool. But long story short is we had a 5-year plan. We didn't know how, but the first thing we did was we just created a little skeleton frame. We said, if we have the house in 5 years, where are we going to be in 4? Well, in 4, we probably have to find a location. If we're in 4 years, where are we going to be in 3? Well, the money would have to be coming in. And we walked it back to, now what do? Let's open a map. And it was that simple.
Yeah.
And then over the next 13 months, we traveled up. I lived in New York State. We went up. We wanted to be in New England. Had a bunch of great road trips, stayed places. Didn't find anything we could afford. Had to go south. Ended up in North Carolina. Would have never chosen that place. Just wasn't on my radar. And we found this place that we ended up owning for 15 years. We found it 11 months in, and we closed 13 months into the 5-year plan.
Wow.
Not predictable. Not where I would have said, hey, we're going to be there. And it ended up being a great place. We were right on the beach. We had, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths. We walked down to the beach every day. It was heaven. And we got to share it with a ton of people. And it paid for itself.
Whoa. Wow. That's an added benefit.
Yeah. None of it could have been predicted because it wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah. I love the way that you framed goals, because I just had literally conversation with someone about 10 minutes ago. And she's like, I don't want to make any goals because they feel like, right. And I relate to that. And I was trying to say to her, first of all, don't call them goals, just call them targets and where you're trying to go to, and they don't have to strangle you. But we kind of, I think society maybe, I don't know, puts us in this, you have a goal and you got to work towards it. And it just takes all the joy out of all of it. So I love that when you talked about when you have a goal or whatever you want to call it, it's a way to go forward instead of trying to use your old ways and reflecting back. So I love that. I hope she's watching. If she's not watching, I'm going to tell her. I'm going to call her up and say, this is another way to look at it. That's really a lot more helpful.
Yeah,
and I love,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I love the reverse engineering of it, right? Because then that gives you the map, or what I would call the pretend plan, because right? We have plans in our what is it? Man plans, God laughs,
yes.
Sort of the pretend plan is we're going to get this beach house in New England, and it turns out we're going to have a beach in North Carolina that's going to pay for itself, and we're going to have all these friends and family and visit us, and it's going to be spectacular. You know what I mean? Like you go in, and then you have add-ons as you or edits out as time goes on.
Right. Absolutely. And it's just, I had something I want to say and I'm going to lose it, but it becomes a lot easier because, and look, everybody has their thing that they're scared of, the money being a big one in our, not only in the world, but specifically in our culture, because we're all driven by money. But when you can just, it became a game for us. It became fun. And we all take this really seriously. And if we can just take a breath and step back and have fun, it gets there a lot easier. And I don't care what you call it. You can, a goal, a desire, a roast beef sandwich. It doesn't matter. It's like you're just moving in that direction. And the beautiful thing about it is we're equipped for this. We were put here on this planet for a reason. And I don't know what it is. I'm not, but we're designed to work. And look around us. We created amazing things, as effed up as we can be, and as some stupid stuff that we do. We've created an amazing place. I'm talking to you through glass and silicone and a little metal.
I know.
And you're 1,500 miles away, and we don't blink about the craziness of that. Yeah. So we can do anything. We're designed for it, but we get caught up in our thinking, and we think that everything we think is accurate. And many times it's not. So going back to what I want to say is, rather than be a goal, why not you just trust that you're going to find your way? Because this is what I wanted to say. We're going to do a new thing. And we the first thing we say is, how are we going to do it? Well, you don't worry about the how. Start walking towards it, and then you'll see things will get revealed.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's for anyone who's listening. Oh man, write this down. Trust it. You'll find your way. The clues will be given to you. I know Robert Scheinfeld calls them Easter eggs.
Yep.
Find little Easter eggs along the way. And they're usually under things that you're scared of. A lot of it, right? The thing that you don't want to look at is usually in there. There's some really kind of cool thing for you.
Every time I've done this, like deliberately, things have shown up in my space that I disagreed with or didn't like. And yet they were fundamental in me getting to where I was going.
Yeah.
And so what I learned very quickly is my opinion about whether something is useful or not, or I like it or not, has nothing to do with the commitment to finding my way. And if I'm willing to just be open, then something may get revealed.
Yeah, that's a hard one to swallow for a lot of people, including myself, is I think we get so wrapped around I'm right. Maybe because the idea that maybe we're not right is really scary. Like, I don't know if it's like we can't handle, like the ego can't handle not being right all the time.
Well, look at how we're trained. In school. You got to get A's. You can't make mistakes.
Yeah.
In the real world, business people, politicians will not own anything because they're going to get excoriated and made wrong. Oh my gosh! And even these executives that run these companies in the ground, they get golden parachutes. Nobody takes any blame. Nobody takes any responsibility. So why would the rest of us have any other different? It's baked into the culture.
Yeah, I think also, and when you do have that rare occasion where someone changes their mind, then they get raked over the coals for changing their mind. Oh, you're a flip-flopper.
Right.
Like, no, maybe this person just changed their mind.
They educated themselves.
Yeah, or they decided it wasn't worth the fight, or whatever reason.
Right.
I mean, sometimes people can do things for some nefarious reason, like they're getting paid by someone different now, so they're agreeing with that person, but. Mm-hmm. But there's not, it seems like there's not a lot of incentive unless you're courageous enough and your mission is very heart-centered to be authentic and to say, I don't know, or I could be wrong, or in my opinion, but show me something new and I'll change my mind. In fact, I've been seeing this more, which I think is a good sign. People saying, I love it when I'm wrong because it means that I'm going to be learning something. And I thought that was such a beautiful reframe for yourself, that it doesn't mean that you're a terrible person because you're wrong. It's actually a beautiful opportunity to learn more or to expand your understanding of something, versus being humiliated and embarrassed.
Right. Well, interesting. Even how you spoke that is like somehow the being wrong was that it's not good is already a bad thing.
Yeah,
But the reality is, how do you learn? If you don't make a mistake, you're not going to learn.
exactly.
And or worse yet, you'll think you're really smart, and then you'll do the same thing until it doesn't work, and then when it doesn't work, it'll have bigger ramifications.
Oh yeah. Well, you just talked about my life. I mean, that's a lot of how I made changes was I was doing the same thing. It worked enough.
Right.
And then I got into a situation where it really just fell apart. And then I was like, I don't know what to do now. Thank goodness I was in the, it sucks when it happens.
Right.
Moment. But looking back, I go, oh, thank God that happened, because then I was open, kind of desperate. I was in a, sometimes you have to feel desperate before you change something.
Right.
Then I got opened up to what's going on. How do we change this versus just chugging along in the usual way, which was costing me more than benefiting me.
Right.
And everyone around me too. Yeah.
And this kind of brings us to a good point. We can introduce the 3 Ps now a little bit, because the 3 Ps is in the background, and we have this misunderstanding. 3 Ps is short for the 3 principles, and I'll do a little explaining first, and then I'm going to invite you guys all to listen to this, and you're going to hear things that make sense or you've heard before. But I invite you for this to be valuable, first of all, you'll have to do a little more research and get into it yourself. But you don't need to put this with what I know, what I don't know, what I agree or disagree. It'll have little or no value for you. I'm going to just invite you to just have an open mind and just kind of observe it like you're looking at a beautiful painting or you're listening to some music. Just let it wash over you and see what integrates or assimilates in as over time. The 3 principles talks about how human beings experience life. And the 3 principles are simply mind, thought, and consciousness. Okay? And first of all, I'm going to bring in something else. So everything is energy. Okay? Everything from us to the air, to water, to solid granite, whatever it is, everything's energy. So this is all energy. So your thought, so I'm going to make 3 distinctions about it. Thought is like the Play-Doh of the universe. You can make things from it. And the more thinking you do, the more attention and energy you put on it, the more real it becomes. So you can start with a concept, create an idea, or maybe it's idea to concept, I got it backwards, and then the more energy and the more looking at it you put on it, the more real it becomes. Then it becomes this construct in your head that, okay, I'm this or I'm that, or I'm going to create this thing. And then you start putting action and you enroll people in it and you start to make it real in the world. So you take something that starts out formless, an idea, energy, and you put enough attention, enough thinking on it, and it becomes something, a form in the world. Okay? So it's really the Play-Doh. It's like you can make anything out of any, from any thought. Second is mind, which is really speaking about universal mind or the universe or God energy or higher self. It's the thing that animates all of us. It's what makes the grass grow, what makes the world, Earth circle the sun. It's what makes us breathe and give birth and all of that. It's the intelligent energy of the universe. Okay, so that's principle number 2. And then principle number 3 is consciousness, which is the way we get to experience it in life. Like we will, we look out into the world and we experience what we experience is consciousness. It's what we see from that thing that we've created. Makes sense? So the metaphor, as I've told you before, and it's kind of, got it from Michael Neal, who teaches this work a lot. So thought is the film, mind is the projector, and consciousness is the screen on which we project that idea or that concept, and that's how we experience the world. So you and I can look at my shirt and agree that it's blue. But your experience of that blue and my experience of that blue are totally different. So imagine that, extrapolate that over everything,
Yeah.
everything and everybody. We all, we all agree about certain things, and yet we have very different experiences of them. So, and that's what's coming up in our world these days. Everybody thinks we all agreed, and now there's all this chatter and people speaking and seeing things differently. And now we're seeing we're seeing gaps. Now, I don't know that the gaps are as big as we're making them into being, because if you looked at all the things we agree on and all the ways we're similar, they far outweigh the handful of things that we disagree about, whether it's in America or, Russia and China and us, or, whatever, different cultural or political differences are. They're really small. But we tend to look at what's different, and we have this brain that's looking for things to scare us, looking at protecting us, and so we make it bigger.
We're having a lot of thoughts about it.
Right, a lot of thoughts. And that's the thing. And see, this is where, and I may get wordy, so you'll have to slow me down if I get a little too much on this, but I've heard many times in the past, and I understood it, but I couldn't get it. They say that, you hear somebody quote some Buddhist thing and say, thoughts are like clouds, they just pass. And yet I finally got that, because you have a thought. Now you can either put your full attention on it and ruminate about it and worry about it and do whatever you do about it. And it's going to, not only is it going to stay there, but it's going to get bigger, and it's going to have a hold on you. You're going to have this tension between yourself and the thought. Or you can bring your attention back here to what's in front of you and let that pass, and it'll be replaced by another thought.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. I'm thinking with the cloud metaphor, it gets heavier and darker, and all of a sudden it's raining and thundering, and
right.
It could have been something that just kind of passed by.
The other thing too is, just because you think something doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've thought poorly of myself.
Yeah.
And then somebody says, "What? You kidding me?"
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So that's the thing, we're going to always have thoughts, and there's science, there's biology and neurology, and there's psychology, and all these things are at play inside of this bigger framework of the three principles that have us experience things the way we experience them.
Yep.
But it still doesn't mean that it's true. The brain, you can fool the brain. The brain just, the eye see color and form. The brain puts it all together, and how it puts it together is, if it doesn't recognize it, it looks for a pattern.
Yes.
Something called the reticular activating system, which looks for that thing you're looking for.
Yes.
And so when it does that, if you have an experience of something that looks like this thing and it was a bad experience, you're going to have that experience, because it's going to run it right down that neural pathway. The thought's going to be triggered. It's going to trigger the belief. It's going to trigger the chemicals and the electricity that shoots that through your body and back. And then whatever that feeling is commensurate with that thought or that belief, you experience, whether it's there or not.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the ways that I realized, there have been many times over the years I realized this, but it was a big one for me, that what I was thinking was true was bullshit, is having a really good friend. My friend Amy is a really good friend, but we are triggered or worried or excited about very different things. And so many times I would tell her what I was worried about or concerned about, and she was very sensitive to that, and she would have empathy with me, and then she'd say, and I go, "Don't you worry about that?" And she's like, "Nah, not really. No." And it wasn't a problem for her. It just wasn't. She's like, "You know what worries me? This worries me." And then I realized, wow, we're both worried about very different things. And the thing that she was really worried about, not an issue for me at all.
Right.
And I realized in that moment, maybe this is BS. Like, not BS, but you know what I mean? Maybe this is not something I really have to concern myself with. Maybe I've made up a whole thing here around why I should be terrified or worried or concerned about this thing that someone else is living a good life, not worrying about at all. Right? So I thought, I need more friends an idea I had is I need more friends who worry about different shit, just so I can get some perspective on my shit, right? So I can just go, and because I had no problem going, really, you're worried about that? Like for whatever why would you worry about that? It's no big deal, you know? But for her, it was such a big deal. And then she was able to kind of go, oh, maybe this is bullshit too, you know? Like there was so much freedom in that, you know, just realizing there's a possibility here that what I'm telling myself is just a story I made up that's not even true. And the more I believe that story, the more I'm going to see it, the more it's going to become more solid, the more it's going to be more intractable, you know, and harder to undo. And so maybe I need to look at that like pronto.
Yeah. Yeah. See, we have this amazing gift. We're a supercomputer, and it's not just here, it's the entire thing.
Yeah.
But nobody gave us instructions. So we've been muddling along through evolution, and we've learned to use your past experience, because that'll guide you. Watch out for danger. It makes sense. And we've also been taught over time, figure it out. Figure it out.
Yeah.
No crying. Don't worry about it. Don't trust anything else, but figure it out. And sometimes you need to trust. Now I look at this as a tuning fork. You know when something feels right. And you know when something doesn't feel right, distinct from thinking about something that has you feel a certain way. But we've been trained, in becoming civilized, and we've kind of tried to weed out all the danger. We've gotten disconnected from that for a number of reasons, particularly men. But we have this amazing thing that we're just beginning to tap into. And that's what's really exciting about this time in the world. And it's also what makes it scary, because a lot of beliefs are being threatened.
Oh, yeah.
And when beliefs get threatened, it gets ugly and gets messy. However, there's a lot of gold in these moments for us to pick for ourselves individually or for ourselves collectively. We just have to decide whether we're willing to be with the discomfort of not always knowing or being wrong.
Yeah, I would say the 2010s, 2012s, around that, a lot of my heroes fell off their pedestals.
Yep.
And I didn't even know that they were heroes. But I was like, wait, what? There was a lot of like, huh? And it was painful. It felt like physical pain and disorienting and confusing, because you've been putting your energy or into the pattern, whatever that pattern is, and then maybe it involves a person or a situation. And then you realize that it's not all that glitters is not gold, as they say. And it's like your heart breaks a little bit. That's what it feels like. I'm not saying that's what actually happens. And it was kind of exhausting. But I'm once again, I'm glad it happened. But it's not necessarily what I wish on someone in terms of the pain, but the after effects, the byproducts of that are, I stopped assuming a lot of things.
Right.
I stopped putting my faith in any particular person or idea or, you know what I mean, or guru or whatever. And I started really trusting my own gut and the signals. I think I don't know what men's experience of this, but I know a lot of women are socialized to not trust their internal signals, but just to trust if someone's nice to you, right? The sort of outside, are they polite, and even though your body's going, there's something off here. This person's saying all the right things, but it feels wrong, and I don't know why. And then sometimes that just means they're having a bad day, but sometimes it means they're not who they purport to be, but you're kind of going along. You know what I mean? You're going along with it because you're like,
totally.
Seems good on paper.
And you want it to be true.
Yeah, it's so much easier, because otherwise, what am I going to do if this person is not the right person or the right thing?
Well, it's perceived that it's easier. It may not be, but we perceive it that it is.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Our mind says, just do it. Just get it over with. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and maybe I said this before, but I really believe our bodies and our physical essence is we're tuning forks. We know when something is off.
Yeah.
We know when something feels good. Just think of any great moment you had.
Yeah.
Just, and your body was, when we use vibrations, or you feel energetically, you feel sensations. Forget the labels, the sensations. This is what I really try to get with people is, I don't care that you felt happy or sad or good or bad. That's great. But I want you to actually feel what it feels like in those moments, so that when they show up again, you can recognize them for what they are and what they're not. And that's hard because we're not taught that.
Yeah.
And that's why it all goes back, this is how it all dovetails nicely with the 3 pieces. The 3 pieces is just this framework of a way to look at it. It's really outside of it. The perspective for how I see it is it's on the outside. Thought, consciousness, and mind don't change. They're the same no matter you're having a good day or a bad day. It's the same. It's like gravity. It's not like, I'm having a great day. Gravity's not going to impact me today. It's going to happen.
Right.
There's things that you have. So these things are always there, and and that's just how they work. And we've been using them somewhat incorrectly or somewhat limitedly. Let's say limited. We use it in a limited way. And I think I made a word up there, but it's really about really slowing down.
Yeah.
And trusting yourself. And again, there's plenty of things in the world that have us not. But at the end of the day, it's left to us to kind of come back to ourselves and remember. And that's been the biggest lesson I've learned, is just to kind of keep coming back and just trusting, hey, you got this. Doesn't matter that right now you're feeling this way that you equate with not getting it or failing or whatever. That's just something you brought up because it reminded you of something. But the reality is, if we, and it just happened for us too. We have a business with my wife, a separate business. She runs a real estate business, and we had a guy who just left us in the lurch, a contractor manager, and she was really upset, and I was too. And we had to make it, and this is like 1,200 miles away from us, so we had to go to this town and straighten it out. And I got very clear right away. I said, this is going to turn out better. We're going to be better for this.
Yeah.
And I made a declaration. It wasn't even that I really knew, but I knew. I said, I know you and I are smart enough. We're going to figure this out. And when we're done this week, we're going to have better management in place. And we're going to come to a conclusion with this one project that's, fallen into the sinkhole. And we'll be better for it. Now, we may not like all the particulars that come out of it initially, but we will be stronger and better. Within 3 days, we had new management in place. And like head and shoulders above. And again, the proof will be in the pudding. We'll see 6 months, a year from now. But the confidence I have and the clarity I have about this person which is tempered by, we're dealing with human beings,
right.
Is strong. And we're going to be better for it. And there's nothing that fundamentally has been shifted in our business other than we now have somebody that looks like they can actually do the job. Now, I had plenty of emotional stuff in the middle of all that, but I was also very clear this is going to be done, and it was. Yeah. And now we're dealing with the other thing, and the point of all that is I trusted. Yeah. And in fact, I declared. I said, even though I don't know who it's going to be, even though I don't know what it looks like, and even though everything I know about what's up there is not what I want, we're going to create this thing. And we just went on trust and on that feeling. And here's the thing. We're creators. From how I chose to address myself today, to how I see myself, to the building and the room I'm in, to the towns and cities that have grown, to churches and everything, parks, we create everything.
Yeah.
Everything. There's not a thing on this planet that we didn't have a hand in other than what God or the universe put there first.
Right.
So we're creating all the time. So we can either deny that, pretend it's not us, it's them, it's out there, or we can actually say, okay, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And trust that it will. It may not be on my timetable.
Yes.
It may not be the way I expected.
Yeah.
Like North Carolina was not what I was looking for. New England, but it ended up being better than I could have ever imagined in New England. So the point is trust. So if I leave you guys with anything today, trust that you got this.
Yeah.
Will it be always pretty? No, it's going to, days it's going to be ugly or messy or uncomfortable, but that's part of the deal.
Yep. Absolutely. It's, I have two thoughts about that, and then we're going to wrap it up. But one thought was, when I worked in a nonprofit for many years, and they never had enough money for my department. So I decided, all right, I'm just going to have to raise my own money. And what I fell in love with was, I had the idea, I got to raise my own money. And then one step after another would happen. I would meet another, a young Wall Street type who wanted to help the organization. I'm like, can you help me raise money? Sure. And then we came up with an idea for a fundraiser. Then we started scouting out locations. Then we got one location who was willing to do it for us. Then she invited all her friends. Then we put out the invitations, like one step after another. And by the end of that event, we had raised, thousands of dollars for the organization so that the kids could go on their summer trips, whatever it was. And I love that creative process, from idea, conception, to, wow, we just did this really fantastic things. And now 5 more people at this event are like, we really love what you're doing. We want to get involved. You know what I mean? So, and I don't know why, because we've all created lots of things in our life, but for some reason, it became very clear to me that I could go from an idea into an actual physical thing, and come out with this incredible, more than I could have dreamed of event, where people are donating stuff that I never even knew existed, for raffling off that, you know what I mean? So it was sort of this beautiful process. And that's when I realized I could do that all the time in my life. Why is it just for this one event? It could be every day, every moment. This is what we do. It could be that fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to circle back to what I said before, here's a formless energy in the idea of an idea that you put enough attention on, and before you know it, it becomes real out in the world.
Yeah.
Is that not magic? Is that not
magic.
Miracle?
And for me, the magic is the cherry on top is that other people get excited about it too, right. And then they want to be part of it.
Yep.
And you're like, yes, this is the ultimate. Which is one of the reasons I love doing comedy shows, because you're bringing people together for this really exciting moment and event, and then everyone gets to share in it.
Yeah.
So we're almost at 40 minutes, and I want to honor your time and the audience's time, but I wanted to ask you 2 things. One is, what would be one thing that the listener could do to help them in their life based on what we talked about, or maybe it's something completely different? What would be like a first step?
Here's what I'm going to say. Whatever it is that you want to do or looking to try to do it. One of the greatest tools you can do, I gave you the little tool about looking forward. Use that, reverse engineer it. Most importantly, throughout your days, you're going to have moments when it's going to suck, or you get off the rails and you're worried and all that. The one tool I use all the time that works without fail is slowing down and breathing. You take your attention from here, where it's getting all jammed up and it's all cluttered. You bring it into your body, so those clouds that were of thought will pass, and now your attention is here, and there's nothing to keep your attention. If your attention's not here, it's not going to keep that thought there. And just come back into your body. There's, wisdom lives in there. Your excitement lives in there. You remember things that were dramatic, whether they were good or bad. You remember that they live in here. They don't live here. And in doing that and letting this get clear, then you've gotten quiet, you've gotten calm. Nothing out there has changed, but it looks different.
Yeah.
Because it's not cluttered with all the noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So breathe.
In fact, we did that before we came on this live stream. You had suggested we do it, and I thought it was a great idea, because I was just like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And you're like, okay, all right, let's just bring it together.
Absolutely. And if it was me, if I was doing the show, if I was the host, that would have been me doing that. And you'd have been saying, Nick, you need to slow down. Take a breath.
Take a breath. It's okay. It's all right.
So yeah, so just breathe, slow down and breathe. You got this. We have this.
Yeah.
And if we just keep walking in that direction, things will get revealed. I really believe that. Now, it won't always be the way we think it should be, or what we thought it would be, or how we wanted it to look.
Yeah.
Like the beach house I had in mind when I mentioned to you that before, that was different. That was going to be up in New England. It was going to be old kind of New England style home. It was going to be, and what I got was not that. And I could have said, oh, this is not it. Let's pass.
Right.
But no, it was actually ended up being way better than I could have expected.
Yeah. Yeah. Our little ego only can see so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes that's enough to set you off on your way. So how do people work with you? How do they contact you? What's a good first step for them to get closer to what you are doing and how you can help them?
Okay. Well, look, if you have a problem that's been hanging on, an intractable problem, or you're creating something big and it's exciting, but you really don't know what the next step is, you'd be a great person it'd be great to give me a call and we could have a conversation. Now, you're going to put my information out there, this website, there's social media, do any and all of that. I would invite you to call me. I'm old school. There's nothing like human contact. Words on a page are a pale comparison to having a conversation. We'll have a brief conversation. If it's something I think I can help you with, we'll actually sit down and we'll do a coaching session, complimentary. 90 minutes. We'll sit down, we'll dig into it.
Okay.
And go into it. And you'll have, my promise is if you bring yourself fully to it, you'll see something new. The promise of these is that you either see something new or you see something newly, and it changes what, how the world occurs for you.
Awesome. And if they go to your website, will your phone number be there? My
phone number's there. You can click on a thing to actually, make a request to schedule something. There's ways you can go through my website as
awesome. Well. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm always learning something new from you, Mick, and I am so happy that you agreed to play with me here and experiment with all my tech. And we will get this out to as many. I'm going to put it on YouTube and we'll have it on Facebook and we'll figure out Instagram. But
Great.
Thank you so much for coming today. And I hope that we have another conversation soon.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. I loved it. And I love speaking with you. And anytime we talk about this stuff, it's always cool. Things come out of it.
Awesome. All right. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have any questions for Mick, you can either put them in the chat or you can connect with me or you can connect with him. I'll be putting out his information today, whenever we finish here. So take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.